So, you see? Okay, we can start. Can start like this, Michelle? Yeah, I'm looking at this audience because they're here. And the online audience will have to figure things out. I hope as long as they can hear. Can start. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming here to our talk today by Montessori Association Malaysia, a special guest speaker. And we are here at our treasurer, Michelle, school here. You can see it's very quite nice. I'm Aisha Abdullah. In case some of you don't know about me yet, Michelle and me and a few other colleagues, we run the Montessori Association longest time already. Okay, so we really one of our missions and visions and all that is like we want to reach out to parents who need support and also to make things easy so that children can have the similar opportunities for learning in whichever different way that they need to learn because the world is growing more and more complex, and Maria Montessori said, look at the child, whichever child, whoever the child is here, where, everywhere, which time, which era. So it's time of today, as we all know, is very challenging with all kinds of technology, all kinds of safety and security issues, etc. And then so busy trying to make everyone safe and secure and all that, we might overlook our children. And the most important thing is we want our children to be as independent as possible so that they can look after themselves and pave the way for everybody else. So here today, we have a guest who hopefully will be able to help shed some light to parents who need the support. Okay, I will leave our guest to introduce herself because I think she knows herself better than me. And also, she's probably got the passion, the fire burning more than me because I myself, as in learning, I always feel that all children deserve an opportunity no matter what. And all children have needs, strengths, etc. So if you feel that mainstream education or any other kind of education system is something that is not quite resonating with your child, because you can see that your child's eyes are not flickering with excitement and all that, then you might want to consider something else that will help your child find his place in this immense universe. Okay, so without further ado, let me please introduce to you Ms. Florence Chuah. Thank you, Florence.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. I've always looked up to Montessori method. I'm so drawn to it. And I felt it's quite connected to what I'm going to share today. First, for coaching gifted children, we'll get into details later, but it really is also following the child. But maybe it's just another dimension that we may not have thought of before. Yeah, so just a bit of background about myself. I came to pursue this course. Yeah, I'll show you my. Yeah, so I know the font is small, but I basically just completed a course and the certificate effective practice in education. It's a bit hard to find a course here, so I found one that I could do online in New Zealand. It's about 6 to 8 months course, and a very good tutor. She is very experienced. She has 40 years of experience in this field. She started it when the kids were struggling in school, and she pioneered this, to get this into the education, and they are training people, like those they call it micro credentials, professional cert for teachers who have already done, and then they take all this to help the children who are affected. Okay, so how I got into this was firstly as a parent myself. My kids was struggling as well. Actually, from baby time also, he was a very, very difficult baby. Okay, so I have three kids, three boys. My youngest is actually the most difficult in terms of just keep crying and crying. I don't know why he's crying, right? So fast forward, basically, I'll go into the whole story next. But just to wrap up this part here, as a parent, I took up this course to try to understand my kids better and try to also help those who deal with them understand them better. Okay, and basically it's to reduce my own stress. That is the main reason why I did this. Okay, and I was glad that they had some practicals as well. So I had to deal with some kids and also had to assess, sort of like qualitative assessment. Okay, I won't say this is a formal thing, but as we all know, sometimes formal things are not exactly captured. Like this one, I did the standardized testing because these children they are quite different in many ways. So we move on to the next. I just curious to know on your side, why are we here? What are we listening to this for? What's the point of this? One, any comments? Unheard of? Is it something unheard of? Curious? Does anyone get confused with gifted being like special needs? Is that something that you might think what gifted? Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a common misconception. I think because in Malaysia we have this kanak-kanak istimewa, so that one is called special needs. But then gifted is actually pintar cerdas, it's different. So that's why there's actually a genius pintar. But now they changed to Pumaka pintar. So that one is actually gifted children. Whereas the kanak-kanak istimewa is those with learning challenges, learning differences. But it's also possible to have both like rank. So usually when you see gifted. So you may hear some people say talented as well. That is the old concept. For us now, talent it's not necessarily talented. If your potential happens to be talent. So that's why myself, I don't really use the word talented much. But in UK and all, they still use gifted and talented. So we are trying to move towards a more holistic point of view rather than this talent. Okay, so what is the point? Maybe I share my story so I mentioned, I had with this, and because they were so difficult, they kept crying and crying. I don't know why, Then I was so scared to go out, I was so scared to do anything because I scared to see shedding myself. They don't want to sleep, don't want to eat properly, and I went into postpartum depression because of that. And then like later on, then my eldest boy, we suspected he had ADHD. When he turned 3, when the second one was born, he was 3, he started to act like he got ADHD, very impulsive, always like jealous, always hitting the brother. So that's why we thought go and get him checked. And the clinical psychologist said he looked like he had some symptoms, but a bit too young to assess. So maybe wait until he starts school later on, then we assess. So we just had suspicion, but then okay. Then later on, we went to a developmental pediatrician. Okay, and then she said that she asked to take the survey from school as well as home, and she compared. Home looks like ADHD, but school seems like normal. So she said because of that, she won't medicate him, just observe and see. The time was around 6 years old, just before it. Yeah. Then during the follow-up, he was playing a beetle, in her office, she got these toys. Then he's playing beetle. Then she asked, what is that? And then he said, it's a rhinoceros beetle. Then she's like, she told me that actually not many people at this age will know that they will just know beetle. So she's like, and then she also got asked him some math. Then he did learn multiplication. My father-in-law got him. I mean, I'm not the type who would push my kids and all that. If she wanted to learn multiplication at 6, then go ahead. So then we all that she just mentioned the word to me, your child could be gifted. But she said, and she also got ADHD. So and she said there's no school that can cater for them here in Malaysia. So she said you just go to a normal school, and then you just send for enrichment. So things like, let's say if they get what the normal maths, because they quite okay, then you just give Singapore maths. That's all. So I didn't think much about it. I think I just smarter than you, no problem. But then she also suggested that because I mentioned he doesn't really eat, very dependent, not people to feed, 6 years old. Then I'm worried how this time. Then she said, you can send him to daycare, after school daycare, where you have friends and eat together. So I was thinking, why did I until he's like the one, now it's 6 plus. So I do it, I sent him before 6. When he started there, then after that, I could see some changes in him. Because he was a very strict Chinese school style where they really got double cane, not single cane, double cane to threaten them. And then I think he was just like very conform, very constricted. And then apparently in school, Cindy also a new class teacher. So the class teacher, I think I didn't have time to mention anything like, oh, he got ADHD. But then before I could do that, I heard that she kept scolding him a lot, for moving around, not paying attention. And then turns out he was very bored, because he already know all the equations. So like plus and minus is really not something that he's keen to learn. And we didn't know. Then after that, because of all that stresses, the new teacher always scolding him, and then the Chinese school style really stressed on him. Then when I was playing game with him at home and he lost in the game to me, he started to hit his head with his hand very hard. I was just hitting. I was like, "What are you doing?" I got a bit shocked. Then he said, I'm so stupid. I want to make myself more stupid." Let's say, why? Yeah, because I'm so stupid. I want to die. It was before he was, he said, "Want to die?" I was like, why do you want to die? Then he said, so that everyone will be happier. So I was very sad to hear that. And I was thinking, like, it cannot be ADHD getting them think like that. Maybe it's like what that doctor said something about gifted, so I started to search online, Google, advanced learners, so that they do have, there is more to it than what I thought, right? So they can be very complex, yeah. So like I say, complex world. Actually, these guys are also complex. So, yeah, but after I, went through a few ways, and then I was suggested to get him tested. So I told him assessed by the education psychologist, and indeed the results came back that he was higher, yeah, because I say high IQ like before. But there's one area that is like not as high as the others, so that is his verbal. So the educational psychologist told me like, "Mommy, you need to read more to your children, okay? Because now he doesn't have the words to express the things that he can feel and things that he wants to learn. Okay, so that's why assessment actually does give to help them where to see their differences and then we can help them." So from then on, then I had to read with him because I myself admit I also stopped reading after teenage years. So and then the second one until I definitely didn't read with them already. But he said even the youngest also can read together. Just read them, get them to read, they will absorb. So since then I think it did help him to, catch up a bit. So actually we think, oh, don't push this area lah, but actually if all is high and one is low, they are very, very frustrated. So we help a little bit to close the gap. Then they can more natural for them to move on. Yeah. All right. So after that, after I found out this gifted thing, then I tried to see things from a different view lah. So I call it the gifted lens. So last time I used to be rushed and stressed and like even brushing teeth, right? He always don't want to brush take very, very long in the toilet. I don't know what he's doing, but I do. I'm screaming outside there, I keep screaming like something. Then one day I just decided to observe what is he doing, why is he taking so long. Then I saw that he's actually doing a lot of experiment with his cup. Then he put to face up soap lah, try to drown the fly lah. So then I was like, oh, he's like a little scientist. He's so cute. But then I also thought like, okay, so how do we deal with this, right? Yeah, I thought like maybe he needs to do this outside of daytime. Okay, so they give you an avenue to do it earlier, so that daytime he doesn't need to explore. Yeah, already explored, then he can brush it and go sleep. Yeah, so you can imagine so much of misunderstanding and unnecessary scolding. Yeah, so yeah, so basically just a very, the main concept here is to share that if you want to identify gifted children, okay, it's a process. It's not going to be a one time or okay, check this, and then I see. Yeah, I so many years I also had no idea. Right? So and using, of course, a child-centered approach. Okay, not like a test or this or that. So it really have to understand the child properly. Okay, and the second point, identification is a multifaceted team. So it's not just me, it's also involves parents, that means like teachers, and also caregivers, right? Very importantly. So even like we want to like qualitatively screen access, right? We actually ask primary caregivers, so they say I thought the parent, but the kid stays with the caregiver. And then she doesn't speak English, so I had problems trying to interview her. So something to think about. Yeah, then I'm thinking, oh, that means like me, then I need primary caregiver must interview her also, you know. So something to think about. Whoever comes in contact with your child, and they will affect, you know, how the child learns. So the last point here is if we call it exceptional ability, you know, they will have in their own ways, right? They will be more obvious, okay? Only if you have an environment which you actually number one understand them and support them in their different learning needs of a gifted child. So, so again, the objective is the same thing. So we just try to understand the screening process and to just be aware there are actually different profiles. Okay, for these gifted children, it's not just one size fits all thing. And then it's also to find out how we can encourage them to emerge more readily. Okay, so I know normally when people say, okay, define giftedness, right? We always take all the experts definition from this expert, this professor, that. But I want to take from the child itself. Okay, let's see what the child feels. What is being gifted like? So this a 16-year-old exceptionally profoundly gifted male from Canada. Okay, to him he says the gifted mind is massive, intricate 3D puzzle dynamic, moving in space, new info, new experience is absorbed into it. But it's just one piece, not there, you know, it's not joined properly, you know, not, we have to sort out, otherwise you cannot move on. You need to see the big picture. So like physics or what are they one thing we say they cannot move on. We need to see the whole thing. So, and it's actually a very constant, you know, not just physics, it's like everything. You know, this disseminating of new thoughts and feelings and ideas. So even one thing like out of place, then they will just show them off. That's why you see some of them can melt down like a bit different. Yeah, because for them, they see it as a whole thing. Like everything's connected. Yeah, they're quite a deep one actually, which is not something we would expect. So even can start very young. Yeah, that's why one area off on my almost 6-year-old also he threw him off, which I had no idea lah. So okay, so we are going to move on to this. It's called Is It a Cheetah? It's an article written by Stephanie Kohler. I also included the website lah, if you can go and check. So we'll just take a few quotes from her. Okay, so the child who does well in school, okay, gets good grades, wins awards, and then performs really well beyond all his friends, okay, according to the same age, is be considered as talented, right? This is common, because it's talented, the person who stands out in the class. Okay, however, the child who does not stand out, I think, no matter what is his inner intellectual capacities or any developmental level inside that, it's less and less likely that we will identify. Okay, and then even more less likely to be served. So there are a lot of very highly gifted, but they never say anything, they just keep inside. So nobody has because they're so complex, so later we'll find out why they don't do well at exams, because they're too complex. They think until too far already. But it doesn't mean they're not trying. People don't thought they're slow. You know, they thought they don't know anything. So then, okay, I'm going to ask you what comes to your mind when I say cheetah. What is it? Fast? Fast, right? It's meaning fast. Okay. So, so we use this metaphor for cheetah to represent, give you an idea of it, because it's really complex. So we try to give you an analogy, like help you understand better, how to understand them. So when we use this cheetah, right, to help us to see this problem that we use to achievement-oriented, everything is achievement and success and things. So this will help us to see why using that is an issue. Okay, so the cheetah, like I said, is the fastest animal on earth. When we think of them, we think of their speed, it's very flashy, it's impressive, and very unique. And it makes identification very easy, right? So obviously, the cheetah is very fast, therefore it's cheetah. And because it's the only one that can ride at 70 miles per hour, right? So obviously, you see 70 miles per hour means what? Right, cannot be anything else, right? So, but the thing is, cheetah is not always running. So like they can run like really fast, right? But then after that they need to rest because intense burst of energy, and then they need to rest for quite some time. So if you know how a cheetah looks like when it's not running, then you can still identify, right? So certain things like bow with black spots and some tear marks beneath the eyes, and then the body of the design of their body is made for running. So all these like small legs, lean body, and very special their claws, right? Actually, it cannot retract. Like cats can retract because they want to keep it sharp. So this one it cannot retract one, but because it serves a different purpose, help them to run traction, help them to to go faster and stay put. So it needs to run. The cheetah needs to run because his favorite food is antelope, 55 miles per hour. Okay, so the body is made to run and it has a very powerful internal drive. Okay, but in order for them to reach 70 miles per hour, it needs to be healthy, fit and rested, plenty of room, and most of all, he needs to be hungry and have antelope to him. Then only he can run 70 miles per hour. Right? So if let's say the cheetah is inside a cage like that, is it still a cheetah? It's not 70 miles per hour. Is it still a cheetah? How about if running after a rabbit, he won't go up to 70, right? Rabbit only runs. Okay, and then if he's being fed zoo food, it's like not going to run at all, or broken or sick. Or if it's a baby cheetah, it's definitely going to not going to reach 70 miles per hour. So is it just a potential cheetah? Or is it already a cheetah? Right? So something to think about there. So in this scenario here, we said that like cheetahs, like the highly gifted children, can potentially be easy to identify. For example, this one here, okay, this child, she taught herself Greek language at 5 years old, and then she could read eight grade level when she was 6 years old, and she does algebra at second grade already. And then you can obviously assume that she's highly gifted, okay. But a lot of people think she's very high achiever, right? But actually, it's not. She's just operating at a normal, it is her normal capacity. Okay, designed to be that way, and very natural one. So she's not actually high achieving, she's just a normal. And why can she be normal and be at her full potential, can say that way? Because she was given room to run. Okay, and then also something to run for. Things were provided to her, opportunities were given to her, interests were, given options. And also she's very healthy and fit, and then her capacity is not by external factors. Okay, so in this scenario, right, it doesn't really take like great knowledge to be able to characterize a highly gifted child for this scenario. Okay, I just want to add a point here, right, is synchronous development. So even though she could be like, can read Greek at 5, she may have struggled with other areas. I cannot be so people always assume, oh, they're good at this, therefore they're good at everything. Because everyone is made, that's why we don't know. We have to really look at each because it will look like that. Because different people will have different strengths and different areas that they are normal. Yeah? So that is the point there is called asynchronous development. So that's where you have different areas that you are high, some are normal, some are lower. Okay, unfortunately, I don't need to say all schools lah. I'm sure there are some schools who try, okay, but most of the time, I think you're all aware the schools here and overseas also, they are actually like zoo for extremely intelligent children. Okay, because it's like they give a cage, you're only allowed to do this thing must follow that, right? And so the unusual mind has really no room at all to get out. Okay, so imagine the highly gifted children, they sit in the classroom. Okay, how do you think they sit in the classroom? If they got so much internal drive and they sit in the classroom like cage, they will sit like bee cats in their cage with very dull eye, very silent. And that one is your lucky lah. If they have the powerful drive so bad, they will start banging the cage, start springing here and there, they become very, very aggressive, start hitting whatever's near them because they have a lot of energy they need to use up, right? So just to give an idea here is children in cages or enclosures, no matter how bright, how much potential they have, right, they are very unlikely to look like gifted. Okay, because they are kept from using their minds for long. So if they are continued in that environment, they may never actually be able to reach the level of mental functioning that they actually were designed for. So I think this is something quite new for most people. Because we always thought if the kid can do what he's supposed to do, then it's fine, right? shouldn't be any issue. But some of them still have issues, so we also don't wonder why, but it could be because of this reason. So the main reason is because this H concept is because the challenges given not enough, right? Because they do it for the standard population, designed for standard population. So without any special sort of enrichment or or any sort of accommodation, that is pretty much like giving this cheetah zoo food instead of antelope. You give them zoo food. So some of them don't even feel like eating at all. Yeah, they just no interest. Because no effort at all, then no challenge to want to eat. So to develop physical ability, right, and the strategy to catch an antelope in the wild. So imagine now in school they are like in the zoo lah, then later we'll release them. So in order to develop that physical ability and the strategy, right, they obviously need to practice, right? They have to have antelopes to chase them. They need the space to chase them. And then the third point here is they need a role model to show them how to do it. Because a lot of them are alone. They don't have many people like them, so they don't know what to do with what they can do. They don't know what they even have. Yeah, so that's why these points are quite important. Yeah, so that later on when they go out in the wild, the working world, then they know how to survive. So another main thing, like I mentioned, they're probably alone. Not many, because the sport is a rare number. They also may feel surrounded by others who make fun of them for their differences. So like I mentioned the design of the cheetah. The design is a bit different because it's made for running, but all the other lions, tigers, they are not made for running. So they have claws that can tear beasts and all that, right? So people will make fun of them because they look different. And the worst thing is make fun of them. They expect them to do what the lions and tigers are made to do, right? So they force them to conform. Which is quite a struggle because I think they were made to solve very complex things and give them things, repetitive things and to memorize. I think it's actually a torture to them. It's like how complex is the culture for normal people. So it's the opposite. For them, simple is complex. So it's like anything is possible, right? So then, just to give a rough idea, okay, what kind of natural traits that this unusual mental capacity, yeah, is actually viewed by people as problems that need to fix. So those who are very high intensity, they think that drama king. Passion, they think these people are obsessed. Those with high energy, ADHD. Those with independence, and then moral reasoning would be things so great, they think they are the police. Curious, then they think that they're challenging naughty lah. Why so curious? Why cannot listen to instructions? Don't ask so many questions. Humor, actually, they develop a sense of humor quite. Some will have a bit different type of humor. Some, I mean, again, it's all different. But if especially language is something that they like, they will tend to pick up puns and jokes very early on. So unusual interest. My house has an ant farm, yeah, and a beetle farm, a llama to feed the ants. So some will like these kind of things that people don't normally like. So, and they'll get make fun of also. And then insistent on truth and accuracy. I think you may come across some students who insist on fairness, that it's true. Make one small mistake and they point out. Just to give a story, my husband, my mother-in-law told me that in school, my husband corrected the teacher in front of the class. And then the teacher told him, yeah, you really scold him in front of the whole class, and then blacklisted. So to me, this thing, I think if parents suspect any of their child could be gifted, it is good to advise the child to maybe tell the teacher, or tell the parents to tell the teacher, so that you reduce this. I don't think they can, they just can't help it. But if you tell them that you understand, I think it will help them to have a better relationship with other people. So of course, with all these that people consider as problems to fix, it's obviously not not surprising that the kids who are put in this position will try to escape or try to pretend to be someone else, try to dumb themselves down so that they don't get noticed, and some will fight back because they're not happy. So unfortunately, highly gifted children don't have body markings or non-retractable claws to spot when they are not performing like cheetahs. So anyway, cheetah ability of 70 miles per hour is a single trait that you can easily measure. Okay, so for highly gifted children, they're very different from each other. All three of my boys, even though I only accept my first boy who's 8 this year, my younger two, 2 years old and 4+, I'm seeing very obvious signs. I mean, they're very difficult. So very different ways of living with each and every one of them. Okay, so really there is no one single way. Okay, and in fact, sometimes the greatest gift of that child could be outside of the academic definition of achievement. Okay, so it will go unrecognized altogether. So and also apart from the fact that they have different areas, you can have also different levels of giftedness. Okay, so like let's say actually roughly like let's say the standardized IQ test of 130 is considered gifted, average person about 100. So between 130 is the mild to moderate. I think once you reach 150, they're very different. They think very complex to you. Whereas the 130 maybe it's just like they're very fast. They think very fast. It skips whereas sometimes the other higher ones will be complex. So even within levels, I think they may have struggled to understand each other. You know, because the expectation is because like, how come this person not curious one, you know? I thought that person is like me, but yeah. So you can imagine the very highly gifted and the normal person is even bigger difference. Yeah. And they actually, we look at them, normal people will look at gifted children as weird, strange. But this is the exact same way that they will look at normal people. You think like, why you're so sure? You don't ask questions, why you're not curious? Why you not, you know? Yeah. So but having said that, it is not impossible to recognize. Okay, it just requires some time. Okay, so to learn these sort of attributes of unusual intelligence. Yeah, so intelligence itself actually is not just intellectual, not just IQ. We have creativity is also a form of intelligence. Creative intelligence, we've got emotional intelligence as well. A lot of people think if you got high IQ, means the EQ is low. I have seen those with high IQ also have very high EQ, and other areas. Okay, so the idea here is to actually observe. Okay, parent, teacher, whoever you are, observe closely enough to see this sort of unusual intelligence in individual children. Okay, of course, as a first-time parent, I have no idea that it's talks earlier than others. Because my mom said, okay, you know, quite early. So to me, I didn't see it as something different. Yeah, but that's why maybe teachers can see. Because teachers see, you know, more at the same age. And especially if that family, you know, usually it's hereditary. So if most likely parent also gifted and child also gifted, so if all also gifted around there, you wouldn't look like you're different. The only thing is the youngest, the generation below parents could be more highly gifted because maybe both parents are gifted. Or and it's also there's this twin effect where generally IQ increases over generations as well. Yeah. And also maybe the food that we consume and vitamins that we take, right? So they might. Okay, so another point to highlight is the highly gifted children. Okay, of course, you know that special abilities, no exceptional, they can do many things that other children cannot do. Okay, that one we understand is expected. But there are some tasks that other children can do that the highly gifted actually struggle with. It's not something that people can believe is possible, right? But because like I said, I don't look strange to that sort of thing. So for example, like I mentioned just now, like we have multiple choice questions. For the average person, they can see it's designed for them to see very obvious answer. But for the highly gifted, for them anything is possible. They will try to figure out every answer so possible to be the answer. Yeah, sometimes they can even find the answer already. Then they want to try another way to find the answer. They are so curious. They're so interested in the thing. And they don't do well in exam for a reason. So maybe for those type of children, maybe have to be more subjective that they can explain themselves rather than having to choose. Yeah, or maybe tailor the quizzes a bit different. And also parents also, if let's say your child, you ask a child a question, they struggle to answer you, it's not that they want to answer. I think they're confused what to answer. Yeah, you don't know what you want to hear. They don't get their busy thinking. Sometimes they're busy thinking, and some of them actually, even though they are high performing, right, I say some areas will be lower, so their processing speed is actually lower than the other areas. Which actually, to me, actually needs some accommodation there. Because the gap is very big. Even though it's still really normal, but the other areas is super high, right? So if you think about this, actually like flexibility. They struggle and they are so complex, so they actually don't do well assembly. Some schools they consider giving them extra time. But it really depends on each school. So having said that, it's a struggle. But if you see anything is possible, it's actually a very innovative trait. They will be a potential scientists, cancer curer. They will invent things that you won't have ever thought before. They will think beyond the norm. So I guess as parents, if you have very difficult children, I always tell myself, I know it's for a good reason. I'm not going through this stress for nothing. Yeah. So that keeps me going. Okay. So as I mentioned, for schools, from time to time, because even at home also, you need to remove certain, conform like traditional things that everyone has to follow. You may need to remove some bars and some enclosures you need to broaden, give them more space and sometimes they like to go more in depth with things, or they like to explore things wider. It's not just the set things that everyone likes. And of course, like you need to, like I said, challenging material a bit more. Okay. I know people are scared to seem like pushy parents. Okay, like let's say you say, these parents are just pushy parents, make their child become, like those scientists, those very talented people. But actually, if a really gifted child, is the other way around. The child is always demanding you to like keep them stimulated. I want more challenging. So actually, parents actually struggle to keep up. So okay, so having said that, to conclude this article, I mean, feel free to go home and read it. We can discuss more. Hopefully we can more series or workshops, okay? Because this topic is quite big. So gifted learners actually have a right as much as all the other students, regardless of normal, not normal. They also need like the needs met. Okay? So school, like I say, is kind of like zoo, like prepare them for the eventual working world. So I guess we try our best to offer them what they need, right? So another point to make, actually the reason why I got into this, because having complex minds sometimes can be a bit dark. Okay, and I have a big worry that my kids become criminals, because they have the potential. I spoke to some have a lot of knowledge of nuclear fission, and they say that the damage that it can cause is much bigger than the Hiroshima bomb. I was like, you know so much about all this. Imagine if it land in the wrong hands, or it's actually, it's not a joke. And I think Hitler is probably one of those that was because of nobody helped them, nobody saved them. So, I would very strongly advocate, that if we don't actually commit to saving them, right, we will actually not only lose them whatever unique benefit that they can provide to us, and they are a very important part of it. If we don't help them, they might actually can be harm to us also, potentially. So, and to wrap that up, our Malaysian Education Act also did cover what is inclusive education. It actually, it's an approach and method that addresses studying desires of all learners, not just specific. So, including gifted, okay, desires of all learners and allow for the best feasible instruction. So that is to wrap up the Cheetah article. I highly recommend everyone reads it on your own. I didn't cover everything because there's more to it. There's also in different languages in case you all prefer. You check whether got Chinese now, but I think it's been translated in many languages. Okay, so now just to share part of my course that we were taught how to screen for gifted learners in a classroom setting. So this is what the teachers there in New Zealand, and there's another 3 people who have taken this course here as well. The Genius Guitar director and a few other people who are in charge of musically gifted. They all took this course as well. And this is a screening checklist. It could be others. I think they're in the process of trying to do an instrument, maybe combine different one, but there's no right or wrong way. So it's just a guide, first step. So, and this one that I'm sharing with you is based on 40 years of experience that the course director has used. Okay, it will definitely not tell you whether the child is gifted or not. Okay, it's definitely not advice. diagnostic or assessment tool. It's just a screening. Something to make you like, should we get this child assessed? Should we get an IQ? Or should we like consider to observe them closer? You know? So like that's what I'm mentioned, and especially for those like very highly gifted writers, maybe you won't notice. So this is a good chance to see whether anyone that's observing closer. So, and this is also it is also found in this book that written by my course director. Her name is Dr. Rosemary. She wrote this book, and there's a preview. You can read like a certain number of pages. It's very, very helpful to understand gifted learners. So I know it's a bit blur, but just to show you an overview of the checklist. Okay, so it basically tells you to ask each teacher to carefully consider each child in the class, okay, whether they belong to any of the certain categories which we go in details through, right? So category 1, and then they will say like what to do if someone falls here, someone falls here. So I'll move on to that. So the first category, okay, the teacher will think about anyone that's top 10 academically, right, 10%. So those who are already performing close to the upper limits, but keep in mind, even though that they are top percent, they actually may be able to go further. But we just never tested. We just assume that they are max. Yeah. So anyone who falls in this category is actually considered possibly gifted. And don't forget, those who skip grades, they also hear. There's a reason they skip grades, right? So if they did go top percent in the current class, but they are actually percent if compared to their same age. Okay, so yeah, so definitely have to observe these people who are top 10%, especially if they also fall in the other 2 categories. Okay, but there are also some highly gifted who will actually be underachieving for whatever reasons. Later we cover those. So it's just a very, just give you an idea. So why here there's something that I want to share about above level testing. So what that means is, like we are not sure, maybe some of them actually can go beyond. Maybe they're happy but actually can do more. Maybe they're actually bored. So then you can actually consider above level testing, which means that you give them a test that's designed for them. So, for example, my child, I brought him to an international school that let him sit grade 1 test because he's supposed to go in grade 1. If he gets 70% and above for math, science, and English, then he shouldn't be doing grade 1 anymore because he'll be repeating 70% of the material. So then they actually allow him to do grade 2. Okay, of course they also observe whether you mature enough. And actually they were very nice to actually let me read to him some things, because for her it's like he may know it, but maybe he doesn't know how to read it, but really can catch up. But he already know it because he asked. Then my husband said actually the questions he saw, he asked, my boy asked him before. He already thought of this question beforehand, and then my husband gave the answer, and then he remembered, then he answered. So I was thinking, how come he know when he did study science? Because they are curious, they really want to know way before it was taught. So the principal will ask me, do you want to let him try grade 2 to see whether he can go grade 3? I said, no, it will 3 hours to do that one, the poor thing. And then once I have to read to him, I don't think necessary to. Yeah, because if you're very far behind, his reading is not great. Then if you move too far, then like the person can do very well, those very busy, then maybe you can let them try grade 2. If they're 70%, then maybe they should go. So this is what we mean by above level testing. Okay, so category 2 is any child who is frequently disruptive, uncooperative, always anti-authority. Okay, and then another type of child in category 2 will be a loner, switch off, just by themselves, withdrawn, or someone who's always daydreaming, okay, or big nuisance, overactive, show off, class clown, and sometimes some people have intuition, right? You just have a feeling like the child might speak different, like something there. So this group, right? Any child that the teacher can think of in this group, they may not necessarily be gifted. But if there are any that's gifted, the needs are not met. Okay? And because of that, right, they are bored, frustrated, unhappy, full of self-doubt, and then we'll have display this type of behaviors because they're just trying to cope with the situation that they cannot change or control. They can't change school, they can't divorce the school, they are stuck there. Right? So if a child falls in this category, right, any of it is like it's not necessarily must be disruptive or pretty either of it is considered as yes. Right? And then also in other categories, at least one. Okay, then as a teacher, we're justified to consider them getting assessment. Okay, this is a very important point that I want to share. A lot of people they thought that these gifted children they cannot join this enrichment work, until they get their behavior improved, then they can join. But then they wonder why they will never improve because they are not given the challenge. They are not given the chance, so that's why it is like such a yeah. So sometimes once you let them skip the grade, actually they are so use their energy stimulated that they skip the test. Before that, I was always fighting, they always bored, want to go to school. After that, like, quite happy to go to school, and then can sleep very soundly at night. So any child who is outstanding in any of the following is in the third category. Okay, so those who show good leadership skills, even get leader is also leadership. Okay, even lead the naughty boys, it's still got leadership skill, got a good sense of humor, because especially verbal puns, those who like read a lot, they read everything. Yeah, some call them a walking encyclopedia, but not necessary. Okay, those who critically thinking, original, works and very unusual ideas, so they give very unique answers. So an example I can give is, I think a tutor will ask my boy before, what's your favorite color? Then he will take some time to think, he said, I like turquoise, because I like green, I also like blue. So I like turquoise. It's not so simple one answer. Then she asked, what's your favorite food? Then he said, I like cake. No, I don't like cake. Because cake tastes like some cake tastes so nice. I like cotton candy, because it tastes all the same. So the answer is like so, yeah, it's not the standard answer. Okay, so moving on, we've got other traits like very determined, very curious, always asking questions. Some will have very advanced vocabulary. My second boy is love to learn big words, even at a young age. Then he was like, Diplodocus, there are Spinosaurus, and I also don't know what is that. And then, some will like to work very because they want to do things. Even the baby want to feed himself, but he can't, but he still want to feed himself. Don't let people feed. Okay, and then you'll ask interesting, difficult, or unexpected questions. They will have a very strong sense of right and wrong, fair play. Yeah. And some will know more than two languages, some will be interested to learn. Always asking me what I have to say in Chinese, how to say in Chinese, but some others don't bother. Okay, and the last point is high level performance in any curriculum area. So any specific area, could be art, could be music, could be sports. Yeah. So like for sports, actually my eldest, he according to the ping pong coach, he actually knows how to hit the thing without practice. Like he gets the timing. See, most kids will spend very long training there. But he was solid, it was natural, right? He progressed very fast. So then I know that he cannot join class because then it will be difficult. Yeah. Okay, so like this one, like I mentioned, it looks beyond the grades and test score, looks more on the behavior, the traits. So these are like this list is based on like research that has been done on gifted children to see what is common. Yeah, so every kid is different, but these are what they observed. There could be traits that have not been listed, there could be traits that have not been discovered. So just keep in mind this is very dynamic field. Checklist changes, and my tutor is very dynamic. Her module changes because I can see like it's different from previous, and there's errors because she's been updating. So I think it's very interesting because they keep changing also. But isn't that how the gifted child is also like this? So actually we should follow the child. So if any child demonstrates at least 3 of these characters, then it's very highly probable to be gifted and therefore should worth getting assessed. So just another point is actually parents also would have observed certain things. I think some even heard their kids speak at 6 months, say a word so early. So if like that, parents should share with their teacher that they observe these things that they don't see at school. For teachers, I would suggest that everyone using this checklist, they should gather together to discuss in staff meeting, because some people will have some idea, observe. Some kids will like certain classes more, then you can see them more perform there and others. So a collaborative thing is good to pick out these children. And once you discuss these things, right, it's a very good starting point because no one has ever put together information. way that you possibly can. Okay, so now I'm just going to go like a rough, there's like 6 profiles of gifted learners. Again, like I say, this list is, I didn't put everything in there, I'm just taking things that I feel is important. But if you're interested, feel free to go and look at this list. It's called Revised Profile of Gifted and Talented. They will include things like how to be with them, what they feel. So this is just roughly like what's their behavior that's observed. So number one, we have the group that is successful. So this is actually quite, they will look like bright learners, those who are high IQ, maybe 100, between 100 and 120. So gives us 120. So the 110 to 120. That group look like this also. So they are high achievers, they always seek teachers' approval, they avoid taking risks, they don't go beyond the syllabus, except they like to perform, they choose the safe things to do, they get very good grades, and they like to learn. Okay, and also common teachers. So this is one profile, and it's hard to, I think this is a profile that people tend to think is different, right? What we think as, leadership, always stand out, always doing, but not necessary, okay? Not necessary. Okay, so creative, we have another group that they express their impulses, they challenge teachers, they question rules and authorities and policies, honest and direct, they may have poor self-control, they may have creative expression, and they are very perseverant in the area of interest. They will stand up for convictions. They may have conflict with some peers, and their emotional state can be quite fluctuating. Okay, so I just give you an example. So this 4-year-old, right? Actually, they were studying on Columbia, and the teacher made a standard model. Is what she made, and when I saw through the whole class, everyone else pretty much colored like that. But he's the only one who don't color but draw things inside. So when I showed that to my mother-in-law, she said like, why he don't follow instructions? That's the first thing most people will say. Why he cannot follow instructions? So Stephen also cannot. But they fail to see that actually she got very intricate detail. And that's the mindset that I hope that we have this gifted lens to see the unique, see the good side of things. If anything, he's going to look more closer to the real politician than the sample. And also around the same time, he would draw quite detailed. So sometimes beyond the age, like for that age 4-year-old, usually they would draw simple. Those who fill up the whole paper with a lot of details of teeth or more, is quite different from the other kids. And then some I see they color. Actually, this is actually the colorful one. It's also I suspect a little child. You can see her green got 2 shades. Right? They don't. Sometimes will have sun. I see half yellow, half orange. Normally people just color. So those things are a bit different, right? But doesn't mean I'm gifted, color like that. Maybe because it's we go into the next one, the underground. Those who, especially girls, when they enter teenagers, they will desire to belong socially, don't want to stand up. So they will pretend. I mean, they will just be like the rest, but they will feel very unsure and very pressured, conflicted, guilty. They will feel insecure. They are unsure to the right to whatever emotions they are feeling. They devalue, they may discount or deny their talents. They might reject challenges, and they view some achievement behaviors that betray of social group. So I think there was once a 7-year-old, all her friends different sports, but her one won. Then the other one. So I think after that she don't want to win again because she don't want people don't win. Because gifted children they take things very seriously. They look for deep friendships at a young age. But other people it's like one day friend, one day friend. But they take it very seriously. My boy also keep sometimes holding something inside. Want to tell me who gave. Then I found because the friend wants me. It's like so sad, they get depressed. So there was this 16-year-old that falls in underground. She has a lot of talent, but I think nobody knows. And she also didn't she did a lot of creative writing. And she told me she threw away a lot because she thought it was not good. I told her you don't throw away, you say you keep. If you did not good, then when you keep, then you can see a progression. How you started and then how you don't throw away. Yeah. So any parents who you know your parents, your kids are not so you did your work. so that you can see their progression, and it's just something to keep a reference point. So especially don't neglect assess qualitatively, you have the records for this 2-year-old and this 3-year-old. So yeah, this is her work. I think it's very impressive. And she told me that her parents don't want to let her to be a writer. She wants to be a writer. And then she kind of giving up that her parents don't let her. I said, actually for gifted, right, sometimes you multi-potential. It's like you can write a job, but you also can write. It doesn't have to be either or. You know, for gifted, you are probably have to do both. So I think parents also need to be aware of that. And instead of them only focus on study. Sometimes if you do that, then they cannot study because they are constrained and they're not happy, cannot express their creativity. So okay, we have those. This group is at risk. They create crises, they cause disruptions, they're thrill seeking. They don't always show up in school. They like to pursue outside interests. They don't do well academically. They isolate themselves. They're often actually very creative, and they criticize themselves and others. They're always very critical, perfectionist, and they also produce inconsistent work. So this is usually when parents come and go, they see this, they will scold the child, why you make a mess? Yeah, why you make a mess? But the real story is my 4-year-old, he loves to draw, okay? But what you can imagine is like very complex. But he doesn't know how to draw it. He doesn't come up with it. He's so frustrated, he tears everything. So sad. Yeah. Then the next day and then a lot of people tell, it's okay, it looks nice, you know. Then he gave him like, but it is not nice when he looks at it. Tell me it's nice, it's not. So then I just tried saying like, you don't like it, is it maybe you want to add something more, something like that. Then he's like, okay, yeah. So we try different ways to encourage them. So a lot of people might say, it's nice, but it's nice, but it actually have a negative effect for them. So this is something that we cannot imagine because probably we didn't have this context, so we cannot imagine that they are frustrated for that reason. Okay, so now this another group we call twice or multi-exceptional. So usually if you are high IQ, you're exceptional, right? But if you also have a learning challenge, then you call twice exceptional. So a very example here is like, okay, if let's say you're gifted, then you're yellow. But if you got, like, let's say autistic or ADHD, then you're blue. So this person who have both, they will be neither yellow, neither blue, they will be green, but different shades of it, sometimes more yellowish green, sometimes more bluish green. So they will not look like gifted, they will not look like learning challenge. So they often get look like normal, but they struggle a lot. It's like having one foot on the toe, one foot on the cheetah. So they are like 2 steps in front, 2 steps behind, that sort of thing. Whereas the gifted is like on the cheetah, and the disabled is on learning challenge is on the toe. So their life can be a bit, and they often get missed. Yeah. So they demonstrate inconsistent work. They will look like average or low sometimes. They may behave more similarly to the younger ones because of their social emotional struggles, having the disabilities. They may be disruptive, off task, but yet they can be good problem solvers because of their giftedness. They have behavior and anger, frustration problems. Very conceptual thinkers, enjoy novelty, enjoy complexity, but also very disorganized. Poor academic self-concept, and they kind of don't belong anywhere. So I just give you this is just a very visual idea. We don't go into details. So this is an example of one type of IQ test. So for someone who's a 2E, so the green line basically is the gifted range, whereas the red is average. So most people will kind of like be, like I think my eldest boy, his one is like quite steady lah, like quite steady, only the verbal was slow. And then his one is all up. So this one is, you got some in gifted and then some in normal, some in gifted, some in normal, some and this one is on medication for ADHD. So imagine without medication, the gap will be bigger. So that is another reason why sometimes we encourage people to check whether they're actually struggling. And we want to try and see if we can close the gap to make their life a bit easier. And even the highly gifted that I've seen, 160 the IQ is up here, right? But then the processing speed is just above average. So that is actually also a very big struggle. So people don't see that, they think that you're high IQ. So, okay, so this one, the last profile is an autonomous learner, very confident, they know their ability, very optimistic, they are intrinsically motivated, okay, ambitious, excited, and they may not actually view academics as a priority. To them, they do that thing and do very well, but the exam is boring for them. Yeah. But they're very expert, they like probably know uni level stuff, but they cannot get through their basic because it's not interesting to them. Okay, and they're willing to fail, willing to learn, and they show tolerance and respect for others. Okay, so this is one example of a highly gifted male from China. He just learned this in September, I think, last year. This is the on-chip. They call it what computer aid design. So they actually have 3D printer, and then they will actually make a line model after that. And it's so complex. Even their teacher was very impressed. Like, you just learn this, but then you suddenly can use it and see, like same level as the working world already. Yeah, that is how fast they can learn compared to their peers. Okay, so just a question for everyone here. Which of the 6 profiles do you consider as underachieving gifted learner? Or rather, which one is not? Which one is not considered? Okay. The successful, do you think is an underachiever? Or not underachiever? I think the rest challenging is not underachiever confirmed. Underground also will be underachieving. At risk, the 2E also, yes. Autonomous? No? Yeah. So autonomous is not underachieving, they are achieving potential, their full potential. How about success? Who thinks successful is considered as underachieving? It is underachieving. Anyone else thinks it's underachieving? Actually, it is. They are not reached their full potential. They are just kept at the grade at, but actually maybe they can go. So the whole point of education is so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will eventually become an autonomous learner. That is our goal. And actually, this boy, used to be kind of at risk at home. We can be different at home, because I'm very precious. So he at risk at home. But in school, he is creative. But now he's slowly heading towards autonomous once he realized that all the struggle he has is actually because of unaware. Then he can suddenly perform quite well. But still do not view academic as high priority. And how do we encourage them to emerge? Okay, so like I mentioned just now, the environment is very important. Environment that will understand and support them in their different learning needs. So we definitely need to consider the classroom and home environment as well. So for me, I don't know if you've heard of magnetic tiles. Yeah, actually I feel my kids don't play much. But once I put on the fridge, right, every day got new structure, new design. So there can be creative ways that you can make the house encourage them to be creative. Yeah. And I was surprised to see 3D for Wacom. Normally 2D only. When someone do 3D as well. Okay, really out of the unexpected. And my baby is even more funny. He turned all one color, all turned behind white color. He don't like multi color. He want it all white. Each child is very different. So how do we have this environment for thinking that is good for them? So firstly, ask open-ended questions that will stimulate them to think for themselves. Okay, the key point is to think for themselves, which is very Montessori stuff. Open-ended as well as fixed solution problems and tasks, especially for teachers to include these sort of things in the lessons. And important is to encourage discussion, comments, and questioning. Get children to ask questions, and then I think as we go on later, right, it's a little bit hard for Asian culture to need a lot of humility to tell them we don't know the answer. Okay, to tell them that we learn things from them, and to give their ideas with respect and attention. because it is true for gifted learner, right? They actually probably smarter than us. Okay, and that's something you have to accept. And it's okay because that's how that will encourage them it will empower them actually because they have a lot to share. Because they thought nobody valued them, so they don't want to share. Okay, so then we have to accept that their judgment and opinion do not always have to conform to ours. And then we, praise divergent and original thinking. Okay, give them credit where due. If any original publishing, please credit them. Don't claim on their behalf. Okay. Allow for intellectual risk taking. This one I'll go in detail later. Are they involved in real decision making? Okay. Do you ask them to consider values and to encourage them to ask why, what if? So, okay, another point of this course that I learned, right? Values, humanity is a very important point because for gifted, right, they have a very strong sense of that, which is quite often forgotten in this world. We all talent and achievement, but for them, success could be green tea. Internet coming to them, that is what they are very strongly called for, voluntary maybe. May not be our idea of success, but what's important to them, I think it's worth thinking. Otherwise, they will also have struggle. So I think it's good, like when you bring your kids for movies, right? Then you discuss after the movie, what's your favorite character? What's your favorite scene? And you'll be surprised at the answers that you get from them. That you never think that, oh, okay, yes, it's quite interesting. So rules for intellectual risk taking. It's okay to wrong sometimes. Okay? To guess when you can't find out any other way, it's okay to guess. These kids are a bit perfectionist, so instead of guess, they would rather leave it blank. They don't want to appear stupid. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but, well, you can tell them to guess, it's okay to guess. And it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't understand. And it's okay to ask what if, how about, and why. Okay, and this part, I think parents and teachers, I know it's very hard to accept. I also struggle sometimes. But if you really want to bring out the best in them, I think it's a very good attitude to have. Okay, the teacher is not always right. And my teacher, my kid got tell me before, oh, teacher, the kiwi bird is the only bird without wings. Then my husband said, who said kiwi bird got no wing? All the walking and video will come. And then Google over. Then at least the teacher is okay. I'll discuss with the curriculum. You have to be open to it, because sometimes things change. Things are dynamic. We discover new things. You cannot always assume the text is always right. Yeah. And also we all are not always right. Okay. And there may be more than one right answer. Okay. So sorry. Okay. So this is a few tips that I have used and practiced raising 3 kids who are, I have to say, it's very difficult. I keep telling myself, okay, for a reason. Those are very sensitive to sound. But then, someone told me, but they make the best sound engineers because they're so sensitive. Actually, they have a place somewhere. It's just that, yeah, they have to find a way around. So, number one, if you have a gifted child, your own self-care is very important. Okay, you make sure yourself taken care of, rest enough. Mental health, need help because a lot of times they will be very triggering and intense. So if you have issues that are not resolved, right, it will trigger very, very strongly. And then it will cause a lot of tension. And then, like I mentioned, some of these gifted lens, learning more about giftedness, seeing from another's perspective, will help a lot on both sides. And it's good that if you think your child already know that they're different from others, it's good for them to know because then they don't expect people to think like them. Or when people think different from them, then they thought they don't like. Actually, they couldn't see the way because they cannot imagine that. So you tell them that people are different, right? So that they don't take it personally. And just like I also mentioned, meaning and purpose. For each of them, they have their own strong meaning and purpose, and it may not be the same as ours, but everything that we do, right, we need to explain the purpose why we do that. Then only they're willing to. Otherwise, they think what a waste of time. Why am I doing this? So, and then play detective. Okay, like we always give benefit of doubt. We do not assume what we know is actually the thing. sometimes they only see the tip of the iceberg. They think until below. So try and talk to them, ask them. Yeah. Once you become more questioning, more open, then I think they will tell you more. You know. And then you write on their interest and strength as well. So for example, like if they're very imaginative, then you can, like let's say okay, my I just like to disturb the second one when he was 3 years old. He'll say things like, I put heart in you put a heart in you. Then the second one will get so angry, so embarrassed. So maybe someone laughed at him. And he thought it's a bad thing. So I explain it's normal to fart, don't need to get angry. Every time he said it's normal to fart, then small things like that, they actually need someone to tell them. And then the eldest one always said, I feel fart in you. And then the guy gets so upset, then we need to be kind of like, how do I solve this? Sometimes everything is like a puzzle. Okay, so imagination worked for me. So I would say, oh, mommy, take away the part. Then okay. So get creative, right? That is really the only way to get around this lah. And then you find role models for them. There's a lot of autobiographies of previous gifted people or people in the field that they like. Then they can read about them. And mentoring, having an older person, let's say they're interested in, let's say design tech, then someone else who's in that area, they can mentor them in the area, or in general, anyone is familiar with giftedness or identified gifted users, I think they're very happy to help the younger ones. Yeah, because they know what they're going through. And if needing any support system, you can join this group that I set up on Facebook and LinkedIn. Because I think it's very, very little support here. Yeah. Apart from that, I think that's all. That's probably my last slide already. Sorry, I've been talking about but you give me a chance to questions. So now's your chance.
I'm very curious.
Once here, sorry.
What was your
All these in IT line. It's quite common in my IT line.
It's very
No one knew what it was, but I can see traits now. But quite difficult. But he gave 1 year 1 hour of life. I mean, for 4 hours, we were 2% of it. Sure. Oh, sorry. Okay. I think one of the audience asked whether my husband, what does he do? And that's gifted. Yeah. He's in IT line, and I actually find there's quite a lot of IT people who actually gifted. Which is why I'm always curious about those in cybersecurity field, because they actually need to. I think the attackers are also gifted, so they need to pre-plan, like try to prevent and see what they are going to plan. It's quite an area out there actually. Yeah, if I'm doing a lot of intelligence, military intelligence. Yeah, I think I all gifted. So yeah, he didn't test lah, but I'm pretty sure he's gifted. Any other questions? Yeah. Let's say if you get along with set the question, then you can tailor right. You say this is like a standard thing. Okay, so this boy he say he can see the answer straight away, but he's going to find another way to find the answer. Can you please revise beforehand? If you see this already, you won't be so curious, right? If they revise, because he is so curious, go and experiment. So they need revision. A lot of them don't like revision, but you need to discipline as well. So do you like to read them to actually understand? Just treat it as normal. It depends how much they are struggling also. Because sometimes after you sort of coach them how to approach things, then maybe they're okay. But if you want to ask for accommodation, then I can't really see the IQ report. If like you see there's a very big gap, maybe they will consider. So some will say, oh, you just didn't revise any master. How to know whether if they need accommodation or not?
It's not common in Malaysia to cater for all these gifted child. So any center or anywhere that actually you can do such an assessment for children.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about formal assessments, is the formal IQ test. There's a few options. Okay. They normally we go to educational psychologists because they study the differences in learning and all that. Yeah. So there's quite a few around in Malaysia.
It's more in terms of IQ, but in terms of EQ, emotional, it's more like observing.
Yeah. If anyone knows how to test for EQ, please tell me. But actually, sometimes intuitively can tell. So that's why I think mentors are important. Yeah, because those who have high EQ, they can tell whether the other person has high EQ. So that one is a bit more subjective lah. So like for example, I suspect my second one got very high EQ. He looked like he got low EQ. Everyone think he got low EQ. But it's because he can feel for someone, mirror them, you know. Oh, the teacher is very strict, he always very strict. People thought he's forward, actually he's just mirroring her. He go to school and no one by that, then he's okay. So his threshold actually is very high. Means he actually he see a lot, he feel a lot. So whenever he outbursts, right, actually consider very good. Right? He's not outburst 24/7. If anyone in his position, I don't know if he can take the amount of things that he's absorbing. So some of them is so intense that they cut off from the emotion. Then it's also another problem. That's why actually mental health is quite an issue here. Yeah. So when they're still young, it's good to. So sometimes I just have to tell him, it's like, you feel very angry. You say, yeah, my good is my bad is very big, my good is very small. But everyone keeps saying so. My good is only like this. I still feel so that he can express like that. So that's say no, it's not true lah. So that's why who they're exposed to really can affect them as well. Yeah. But I think nowadays got a lot of EQ classes, right? This social emotional learning class. But whether they account for gifted, because they don't know that the level they can go to is so complex feelings and may not help enough to address lah. But there are some enrichment centers, and there are some educational sites who can sort of also help lah. Those who specialize in it, then they will know lah. So they actually got gifted schools here in Malaysia, but it's not easy to get in lah. You need to 100, I think 300 a year can get in the top 300. And if your child is between age 8 or 9 to 15, it's still free to take now the screening test for the Permata Pinta. It's actually fully boarding school for gifted children. Yeah, but only for secondary onwards. But they can enter earlier because if they are above their age, right? 11, I think 11 or 12 can enter already. But when they enter, they straight away do from 4 to 11. They bypass 1 to 3. Yeah, because some of them need acceleration. Yeah, so it's a very case-to-case thing. There are a few centers that can support. You can ask me later. I'll share. Yeah, and I'll tailor according to what the needs are. Also.
You mentioned there are 6 types, right? Some are considered underachieving. So, can they grow to achieve the good potential with some time of their life?
Yes. That's why gifted education. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I'll just repeat the question. She was audience member was asking if they can move from one profile to the autonomous is the achieving one, right? They can. That's why we advocate for gifted education, so that we can see each child what their needs are and help them. If let's say the 2E undiagnosed ADHD, maybe they just need to get some OT, some executive functioning guidance, then they can head closer to autonomous learning. Yeah.
But if they have passed, secondary school already, but nobody doing, and now they are struggling.
Yeah.
Are there any support for that?
It will depend on the school lah, but educational psychologists can also help. Yeah, but yeah, depend whether they are aware of it. So especially I find those who came from Australia, they have seen this quite often. So I'm always on the lookout for those who came back from overseas. And then I would, I would refer according to what the needs of that child. Yeah. Because some I can guide, I will do myself without having to but maybe I get them to get IQ assessment first, then yeah. So I say the autonomous level, the one who did that design very complex, he used to be more at risk and creative, but he slowly, once I actually school counselor referred to me because she always hear me talk about my kids stuff, so she's like, maybe this one also. So she referred to me, then I suggest getting tested. And then his school, the head of his form, the teacher is aware once I explain to him, then he's helping him a lot. I don't need to do much here. The school will support, but they just need to know who and how to help. Yeah. Then he always thought his EQ goes, actually his EQ is very high. And then once he know about him, I told him actually he's very fast and then the teacher talked to him very fast already. Before that he thought he's very slow. So he's like he suddenly changed, the approach. And so the teacher told him, I know you don't like to do boring, easy stuff, but it's needed. You want to make sell Tesla, right? Actually make Tesla. But you still need to sell commodities first. Then only can support, otherwise cannot. So they got examples like this to help them to change their mindset. Doesn't need genius or scientists to do that. Just understand the child, and he probably himself had experienced this also. So yeah.
So, Florence, I think
Yeah.
a lot to think about, a lot of things that come through, etc. I do have one question though. I mean, looking at your profiles and basically seeing the children, essentially their personalities, their characters. Would you say that someone who's completely ignorant, would say, okay, so this child is a strong-willed child, this child is less-willed, etc. Would you say that, typical parents would say, okay, I just need to know my child a bit better and understand that his learning technique is different. And would it be manageable to most parents? The knowledge, if they know that they can manage, you think then children will not be at risk of being behind? Or do we need to go all out there and tell parents, look, there is a certain level whereby if your child reaches or crosses that boundary, get help if you don't know how to support it?
I think because each child is so different, right? It's a little bit too hard to answer, but most of the time they come to you when the child is having trouble. Then only they will find someone, they will get help. Yeah.
It's not like something that, like look at the profile and all the children are like this.
Yeah. So that is the problem.
So it's something like you can't detect, for example, a child who's like, or autistic, very young, they can detect something, they're doing something strange. But with a gifted child, it's difficult to tell until you say there's trouble or challenges.
Actually, I think the kindy teachers, if they observe closely enough, they can tell because they're all in the same age, right? So they can see this child, like he does things the always odd one out. Not necessarily better, just different, right? It's just different. But we don't know why it's different. Could it be he cannot follow, refuse to follow? Could be many reasons. If he refuse, that means he can, but he don't want to. Or if he's in the class with other slow learners when he's not special needs school, he will slow the pace down. And then he will get, trouble and start beating people. Because not enough attention, right? So, and only one teacher for so many then.
So it's very, very difficult. Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially what I'm trying to say is like, what are we aiming for? Are we aiming for education? Are we aiming for education that's suitable for the child? Or are we aiming for education that's better for all children generally?
Correct. So basically, my goal of gifted education, the approaches that we do, the intellectual risk taking, create environment, good thinking, it will benefit everyone. Which I think they should do. Values, putting in values is not just academics and looking at effort rather than grades. And if that can be practiced by all teachers, I think it's very easy to spot them. And they don't need too much already because they cater for. You know what I mean? There's no need, there won't be trouble.
Yes. So, putting the grades element aside, although it's one of these things that called life that we have to have in order to move on, etc. You're saying that this is something we should already do with our children, right? Looking for the most, being optimistic, looking for the best part of the child, being positive and saying the child has got potential in something. So I'm very, very pleased because that's exactly what Montessori is for. Okay. I told you earlier, I wasn't sure what you meant by gifted, etc. That's what I do, So I do have in my 25 years or so children, many, and I'm perplexed. Should I encourage the parents to go all the way because he's really good, but emotionally he's just not there.
Because he's not allowed to go for it.
It could possibly, yeah. So
Possibly.
I bring in the parents for for consultation. I say, I'm not so exactly in this area. Maybe you want to get this educational psychologist, etc.
And there are a few around.
So is there some basic training that all preschool teachers, parents can assess for them to detect that maybe
I would love to.
rather than wait later?
Actually, I think the Institute for Legal Learning has a module for them.
Okay.
But only the newer ones. The one that already teaching.
And you have to join the MOE to do that.
Yeah. That is my ultimate hope.
Okay. Yes. Well, carry on. We wish.
I'm actually in another ministry, but I hope to.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, we wish you.
I probably need some more experience.
Yeah, we wish you all the best. And by all means, do stay in touch. This is just one of the many talks that Montessori Association of Malaysia wants to do. To get on with the real thing. A lot of people think that Montessori Malaysia is like preschool, just training, etc. It's not that. Montessori is human development all the way until, as you say, the move to. We've got Montessori adolescent, we've got Montessori corporate Montessori, we've got Montessori for aged care and all that. So please, it's just
Even babies, right?
Even babies, yeah, from zero. She just mentioned I happened to study Montessori from 3 to 6. In order to understand the child, you must see the child from inception and see through to the end. Okay, so we hope that we'll have more and more interesting talks like this to help us understand our children and help us understand humanity. That's that humanity would be exactly as what Montessori said. If we are to heal society, which we need a lot of, hopefully we can do something with children. So with that, Florence, thank you very much. Look forward to staying in contact and seeing how you progress as well. Thank you very much. I'll give them a list of friends. Thank you, everybody. Of course, Florence here. Thank you for taking the time off to come all the way. Some members here, thank you very much. Others, I think my parents help you. Or some people just like the ending, which is about the start. We can cover the top. We can talk. So hopefully,
Or if there's any particular topic.
Yeah, hopefully. I think Michelle, thank you, Michelle. You have hosted this place. Thank you so much to my classmates. Some goodies there. Please help us out. And yeah, just a little I'm here for you. Thanks.